All right. Good evening, everyone. We're so excited to have a fantastic panel this evening for our first evening WVED for our Staying Healthy and Resilient panel. And we are officially live on Facebook now. So I'm just going to take a second and ask each one of our panelists to tell everyone a little bit about themselves. So we're going to start with Robin. Robin, tell us who you are, when you served, what branch you served in, and what your current position is at Headstrong.
Sure, thank you. So I'm Robin. I'm actually currently still serving. I'm in the New Jersey National Guard Army branch. I am coming up on my 10th year anniversary in 2 months. So a good chunk of time. Right now for the National Guard, I'm a company commander. In the civilian work, I work for Headstrong, hence the background, and I am the care coordinator. So I'm like the first person that clients talk to, and I connect them with clinicians in their area.
Amazing, thank you. Brianna, we'll go to you next.
Wonderful, thank you so much. My name is Brianna Renner. I am the Chief Operating Officer with the Veterans Yoga Project. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 1998 to 2003 as an avionics technician.
Awesome. Jessica.
Thank you. My name is Jessica Reid. I was in the Army from 2003 to 2009 as an intelligence officer. And now I work for Team Red, White, and Blue as the Associate Director of the Volunteer Experience. So basically that means just supporting the amazing volunteers we have all over the country.
Awesome. Kasie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kasie Valenti. I'm an Army veteran. I got out in 2016. In the Army, I was a logistics officer. I'm also a military spouse, and he's in the Army, and a mother. We're currently living in South Korea, Busan, South Korea, and I'm supporting 2 veteran service organizations. And the one that I'll reference most today is Veterans Yoga Project, and I work in the marketing department.
Awesome. Well, let's hear some interesting information about each of your organizations. So each of your organizations is connected to the fields of health, wellness, and resilience. So Robin, we'll go back to you. And can you tell us a little bit about Headstrong?
Sure. So Headstrong is actually veteran founded. They were founded in 2012, ironically, which is also the year I commissioned. We have, as we've come on our 10-year milestone, we've rolled out a new tagline where we're focusing on triumph over trauma. We serve veterans and active duty service members who benefit from specialized trauma-focused treatment because of experiences incurred before, during, or after services. So we provide outpatient therapy for these veterans and active duty service members. This sometimes stems to family and spouses, depending on how they've been impacted by that veteran's trauma as well.
How can someone get involved with the services that Headstrong provides?
Yes, so you can just go to our website. It's getheadstrong.org. And then if you are interested in services, you just click on Connect to Care and you can put an application right there.
Awesome, thank you. So Brianna and Kasie, I don't know how you want to address who gets to talk about Veterans Yoga Project, but let's hear about Veterans Yoga Project.
Sure. If you want, Kasie, feel free to add anything I might miss. So Veterans Yoga Project, we just hit our 10-year anniversary last October, so congratulations, that's wonderful. We bring yoga to veterans. So we are on a mission to support the recovery and resilience of our veterans, active duty family members, and communities. And we do this in a couple of different ways. One of the ways is we bring yoga to veterans through live classes, through virtual classes, pre-recorded classes. And all of our classes are encompassing of the 5 tools. So they'll all include breath work, a little bit of meditation, some movement, a little bit of guided rest, and always a little bit of gratitude. We also offer yoga teacher trainings for veterans. So we just started our second 200-hour yoga teacher training for veterans. And we provide trainings to yoga teachers and mental health clinicians who are interested in incorporating this work into their field.
Awesome. And Kasie, did you want to talk about any of the other organizations that you're affiliated with?
Actually, I would like to just add with Veterans Yoga Project, if you're interested in health and wellness and you enjoy being a part of the military community and supporting the military community, it's a great organization to volunteer with. I started out as a volunteer a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, and just supporting their ambassador program. And it really does help you feel connected to the military community, which is a tough emotion to deal with once you're out. You feel like you've lost connection to the military community. And the other veteran organization I support is International Scientific Advisors, and they offer DoD skill bridge and advancing life-saving technologies. So, which is pretty cool too. It's in the health field. It's just in more medical.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It is really important to stay connected to your community. So thanks for adding that. So Jessica, round us out with Team Red, White, and Blue.
Absolutely. Yeah, Team Red, White, and Blue, we focus on health and wellness and forging enrichment for veterans, their families, their friends through health and wellness. So primarily, at the wave top of that mission is physical activity. And the ripple effect of the health benefits of physical activity really hits that mental, emotional health as well. And so, I love that tap on community too, because it is so important. That actually used to be a part of our official mission statement, was about connecting veterans to their community. And we feel really strongly about that. We also have that inclusive part of the organization where you don't have to be a veteran to be involved. You can be a friend, a family member, someone that just wants to be a part of it and be connected to the veteran community and support it. So what that looks like in action is local chapters that are volunteer led, holding weekly or monthly events around yoga, around running, around walking or rucking, really whatever a local chapter decides to do. The whole point of it is inclusivity, pushing ourselves wherever that may be. Maybe that's running a marathon for some, but that could also be getting around the block for others. So really just creating an inclusive, supportive environment for people to be active and feel the benefits of that throughout their lives.
That's a great flag that you don't have to be a service member or veteran to be part of Team RWB. I know that oftentimes we have other members of the community who just want to support. So thank you for sharing that as well. So the next question I have for all of you is, how did you get interested in your current positions? Was this something you were always interested in, or did, a tie to your veteran community kind of lead you back? So we'll start again with Robin. Robin, how did you get involved with Headstrong in this capacity?
Yeah, so I've been a fangirl of Headstrong. That's what I call myself. Since about 2015, I've followed them, been aware of them. I've sent my own soldiers to them. So when Headstrong decided to kind of turn their clinical team to being internal Headstrong employees, it was kind of like a lifelong dream come true. I had already gotten my master's in social work, and it just was a really good fit. The position allows me to help veterans and service members. It's also completely remote, which was really great during the pandemic, because that's when I started. So it was just really a dream opportunity for a fangirl.
I love it. We're all fangirls of our own organizations, right? So thank you for that. So Brianna, how did you find Veterans Yoga Project, and how did you get involved in your current capacity?
Sure. It was by pure chance. So I just hit my 10-year mark of teaching yoga, or from my 200-hour yoga teacher training. I've been teaching for about 11 years. And almost immediately thereafter, I came into yoga because I loved how it was the only chance I got to just be me. I had just had my second daughter. I was dealing with some postpartum stuff. So I loved yoga. And when I found a Marine, or I met a Marine at Kripalu a handful of years ago, I was like, oh, I'm not the only one doing yoga. This is amazing. And I was invited right around the same time to teach yoga at our local VA in Vermont. And I was given the opportunity to go to another yoga teacher training for veterans. And my husband was in a car accident. He was fine, but I wasn't able to go to that training. So I just did a quick Google search, yoga for vets, and Veterans Yoga Project came up. So I went through the training and immediately fell in love, became a fangirl, drank the Kool-Aid, right? I loved the mission. I loved the science behind why yoga works and how, how resilient we really are. And I asked our founder and CEO, Dr. Dan Libby, how can I help? What can I do? And I just kept asking, what can I do? How can I help? And so April was my 8-year anniversary. So I've been fortunate enough to have been around the organization through so many growths and changes. And it's a genuine honor to be in this capacity as COO, to continue bringing yoga to veterans and to, be a part of such an amazing team with so much passion and dedication to supporting not only veterans, but each other and the work that we do. So that's, it was, I don't know that I ever had a goal or aspired to be in this position necessarily. I'm always welcome for a challenge, and this is by far, it's a challenge every day, and I welcome it and I love it. I really can't see myself being or doing anything else.
That's the job you really want, right? The one you can't see yourself doing anything other than that job, right?
Absolutely.
Jessica, how did you find your current job at Team Red, White, and Blue, and how did you become excited about it?
Yeah, I found Red, White, and Blue after I got in a car accident. We're talking car accidents here. And, in my life, I had the physical activity thing down. I was an Ironman. I loved to push myself. Iron Woman, excuse me. I love to just push the limits and test the limits. I was really good at that. And kind of thinking back on it, I was really good at running away from things and avoidance and distraction. And so I was really using physical activity as that tool for a long, long time. Car accident made me stop that. I physically could not do the things that I did to cope. And so I was forced to find some other tools. And when I was finding those other tools, which ended up being meditation and eventually yoga and more being in nature and things that aren't quite as extreme as CrossFit and all those wonderful, wonderful sports out there, that concept of balance came in. And then I kind of thought about, man, I don't have a lot of close relationships in my life. Not only have I been running from thoughts and experiences and trauma, but I've also kind of kept people at a distance. So I was looking around, it's on Facebook. I saw a former friend of mine from our cadet days wearing an RWB shirt. And so I just looked up the local chapter. Really what it came for me, what really was the draw was the combination of the physical activity and the connection to the community and that sense of team, that sense of camaraderie. I really did not want to talk about the military when I went to any event. And just kind of coming back on that inclusivity, the thought that knowing that there were going to be civilians there, that I had this expectation that the veterans would just really want to talk about the military all the time. And that's, we know that's not true. But I had created that story in my head. So anyway, kind of fast forward, I just opened up a big part of myself by joining that Philadelphia chapter. Man, that was about 8 years ago. And now I've been with Team RWB as an employee for 5 years. And I joined the team, was a member, became a volunteer myself, helped lead the Philly chapter. And so now in this position as the Associate Director of Volunteer Experience, I get a chance to support people in communities, in chapters who are boots on the ground, trying to make a difference and trying to connect with veterans in their communities and kind of open that aperture of health and wellness for them. And so it's a lot of work, absolutely. Volunteer schedules, like, you know, I'm working evenings and weekends and things like that, but it's so fulfilling, and it really taps into that sense of service that I absolutely love and keeps me connected to the veteran community, which I also so appreciate. So sidebar, I love hearing everyone's journey here too. That's just a really cool bonus on this panel. So thanks so much to everyone for sharing their stories.
That one, thanks to you for showing up at a Team RWV event. And then now you're the person, you know, you've come completely full circle, right? Now you're like managing the volunteers. So that's a cool story to hear. Okay, so Kasie, you have 2 veteran related organizations to tell us about how you got connected with and how you found your current positions there.
Yeah, we can stick with just Veterans Yoga Projects. I think it's most relevant with health and resilience, but I feel like everyone kind of hit on things that I want to say too. I feel like we have a lot in common with how we found our organizations and aligned our passions with our jobs, which is really unique. And I feel really lucky to be able to align those things, especially after being in the military, where sometimes you put into positions and that you probably wouldn't pick for yourself. So I am extremely grateful to be a civilian and be able to do that. But 3 years ago, I was postpartum. At the time, I was a veteran, and I just wasn't feeling my best mentally or physically. And we were living in San Francisco, and I wanted to join a gym. And I really quickly learned that there are way more yoga studios in San Francisco than there are weightlifting gyms, which I was so used to doing weightlifting and running and push-ups and sit-ups from the military. I hadn't really tried anything else. And honestly, weightlifting, it really does make me feel a lot better. And I later learned that it was mostly the deep breathing and the concentration, a lot of the same aspects of weightlifting that were actually in yoga. But so backtrack 3 years, I'm not feeling my best. I joined a yoga studio. I took my very first class thinking I'm just going to go get a good workout in. And I left feeling, I can't even describe it. I just left with so much more than a workout, and it changed my life in so many unexpected ways. I mean, I am just such a different person than I was 3 years ago to that day. I just remember walking home and just saying, I'm joining this studio and I'm going to practice yoga every day. And for the most part, I've been pretty consistent, which it helped that I picked up yoga because then the pandemic started and I needed something I could do at home. So it kind of worked out. And then, so when I went home, I started Googling yoga for military. And then I found Veterans Yoga Project. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe a military community practices yoga together. This is like mind blown. So now I'm a fangirl or fan yogi. And so I signed up to be a volunteer. I volunteered off and on for about a year, helping with the social media and just storytelling and making sure we're recognizing our volunteers, making sure we're recognizing our team, a lot of storytelling. And then I moved over to Busan, South Korea, and I needed to work kind of flexibly, and I was able to take a job, and it was just so exciting to be able to align passion for yoga therapy, military community, marketing. I mean, just to be able to bring all of that together is really unique and exciting. So you know, my goal here is just to bring more awareness to Veterans Yoga Project and encourage veterans in the military community to take advantage of these great resources and encourage them to try just one yoga class.
Awesome. We're going to come back to you again for our next question, mix it up a little bit. So, Kasie, how is health, wellness, and resiliency, like, why is it so important for the veteran community and especially women veterans? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so speaking from my own experience, I joined the military right out of college. It was my first real job. I didn't have any expectations of what work culture is like. I didn't have any expectations. I didn't have anything to compare it against, really. I didn't realize, I think a lot of veterans, actually, not just me, but I don't think we realize until we get out and maybe even a few years have passed, how stressful and how much daily stressors we experience in the military, and just some of the experiences that we go through on a daily basis that are actually, maybe, I don't know if traumatic is might be too harsh of a word, but stressful. And you don't realize that until you get out of the military. I look back at my 20s when I was in the military, and I just can't believe some of the things that I endured and that endured daily. And as a mother, or as a woman, specifically being a mother, I entered motherhood while I was in the military, which tackled on a whole other set of experiences that I didn't realize until later were actually really hard to go through. And not to mention, I was far removed from family support, doing it on my own. So, when you're young and you join the military, this just seems normal. Like, oh, your kid's in daycare from the first one in and the last one to be picked up, and you have to have a nanny on the weekends. I mean, just the things that I went through as a mother specifically, that you don't realize can be different and is different. And so it built up. And then when I got out and I started working in the civilian world, and being able to do things that I wasn't able to do in the military, I just started having emotions about that. And so I think it's important that we process things that we experienced as a veteran. And then for me as a mother, just to process that, and give credit to yourself. That was really tough. Going to air assault school 3 months after having a baby is tough, Kasie. Like, that is hard to do that. Getting back into and I had a child 11 years ago. So I know the military has done a lot to change, which is so great to see that there's new regulations in place, new policies, new change in perspective and leadership. So it's great to see. But when I went through, a lot of this stuff wasn't in place. Postpartum PT, pregnancy PT. I was attached to an infantry battalion at the time. And so I just went through things that were very tough. And I didn't realize it until later. Like, most people don't do that. And so just giving yourself credit and giving your time to process that. That's why it's important.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of identities, right? Intersecting there in a stressful environment. So really great points that you brought up. Jessica, do you have any thoughts on why this is so important for veterans and women in particular?
Yeah. As Kasie was talking, I was kind of like thinking back to, I remember getting back from my deployment to Iraq, and the best way I could describe it to people that were asking was that it felt like I was holding my breath for a year. And I also, now looking back, realized that I didn't exhale that breath when I got back either. So I think I'm still exhaling it. I think it's, not just that, but other experiences, and continually trying to, I am a very optimistic person, and I do really appreciate my path in life, but it does take work to kind of say, okay, well, this mindset that I was on of perfectionism and physical capability to hang with or beat the men in my unit, to prove myself day in and day out, that kind of pressure and motivation, but also pressure does build up over time. And then getting out of the military, where I was still trying to use some of those tools and wasn't being very successful. So trying to just transition, that word transition, there's so many ways to transition. And I think for women veterans, it's a lot of that kind of adjusting to expectations and the operating environment where mission is just, it has to be the focus and almost at all costs when it's life and death. But then, changing that to, there's purpose in work and there's motivation, but there can be a balance, and there are new tools out there to use, and they probably may not be the same tools that for me got me to that point of joining the military and serving for the time that I did.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you started that with, you didn't take a breath for an entire year, and then another year after that. I'm sure a lot of us could relate to that, military or civilians, right? I mean, that's big right there, and it's amazing, how far you've come from that point. Brianna, do you have some thoughts to add to this?
Yeah. I mean, Kasie and Jessica, you both have brought up some really beautiful points. And I think that I love that, you haven't exhaled and you're still exhaling. I think resiliency isn't something that's taught in the military. You're just taught to power through, and, you're not given any opportunity. At least 20 years ago, you weren't. I don't know if it's changed at all. But, the opportunity wasn't there to, let's take a minute and let's talk about, or let's just breathe, right? You're feeling stressed. Let's just take a minute and breathe and let's process this, right? Like that was never an option. And, we are all coming out of, and some of us are still in a pandemic. And, for many people, right, they haven't exhaled yet either, right? They're still exhaling. And this idea of being resilient, I sort of think of it as, being able to take a moment and reflect, right, and process, and then step out, right, step away, step beyond. And when we take that time to really exhale, then we can continue to live our lives in the way that we want to live our lives, and we're not held or stuck in any one place or time or experience. And those are, I think, as we move past our time in the military, I've been out, this is 2022, I've been out almost 20 years now. And I think in some regards, like, I'm still exhaling. I really love that. Mission, it does come first, and I notice it in my work, right? We're a very mission-driven organization, and rightfully so. But it was always mission accomplishment and troop welfare, right? That was the order of things. So now, as a COO of a nonprofit, right, there's got to be that balance. And I would even argue, right, like troop welfare has got to sometimes come before the mission, because we as a collective, right, if we are supported, then we can in turn support each other and support the work. So I think, I think that's why it's so important.
It's interesting to hear that you're still exhaling 20 years later too. I mean, that's big though, right? Because, there are some of us who might be going, oh no, pandemics happened for 2 years now and I haven't exhaled, but like, it's a long journey, right? And it's okay to consider it maybe not accomplished at this point, right? Fantastic. Okay, Robin, round us out here. What are your
I think
thoughts on
everyone
this?
said like great things, and kind of as everyone was talking, I was thinking back to something that another captain had said to me once, that this training event he had gone to was a significant emotional event. And I think sometimes like just being in the military is a significant emotional event. It impacts so much. It impacts all aspects of your life, even if you are, quote unquote, part-time soldier, even more so in terms of being able to like, shut the computer on a Friday and then show up to first formation on a Sunday or Saturday. I think for women in the military and women veterans in particular, because there's so few number of us, like that's even more important. Because I remember the first time that I showed up I was assigned to an HHC of an infantry battalion, and I was the only female, and I was like, oh, curse word, like what, like who do I turn to? Who do I ask questions? Like, because nobody like the expectations are always so high, and they're especially high if you are the only one of your race, gender, whatever. People are looking at you because you stand out in a different kind of way. So I think that all of that pressure, it just like builds up year after year, day after day that you're doing it. That is just so important once we get out to be able to have that deep breath and be able to like kind of release some of that. And it can take the rest of your life to kind of, exhale in that sense.
Yes, absolutely. So a related question that we have, that I'm going to come back to you with this, Robin, because I feel like right now you're kind of balancing those two worlds right now, right? So how do you find being healthy and resilient in the military, which, you're doing as you are a civilian, employee at the same time? How do you find those being healthy and resilient in those two worlds different? Like, what is there anything that works for you on one side that is a little different from when you're, playing civilian?
Yeah, I actually love this question because I was like, oh, this is all aspects of me at all times. And I just came off of a drill weekend yesterday. So I was like, oh, this is great. I think what's interesting is that in the military, and at least I can speak for the Army, in 2009, they started teaching resiliency. And you have this expectation to go through a certain number of resiliency skills. And it's the same thing with your health and your fitness. You're told you're told what to do. You're told the standard that you must meet. Whereas a civilian, it's just kind of like, you can do whatever you want kind of thing. So I think the biggest difference and the hardest thing to do is to be able to maintain that motivation when you are a civilian, even when somebody is not kind of knocking on your door and being like, well, were you able to run those 2 miles? Or, did you complete that like resiliency course or the suicide awareness class? And, as dumb or, as painful as they can be to go through, at least you're being forced to kind of like think about it for even an hour, whether or not, depending on how the instructor is, whether or not it was helpful or not, at least it's on your brain and it's something that you're thinking of. So if it's something you're struggling with, you can think about it and figure something out. Whereas a civilian, it's very easy to just kind of like ignore it. If I have a long month, it's just like, maybe I won't run this month, or, I got more important things to do. But, when you're forced to do it, that's kind of the biggest difference that I've noticed.
An extra layer of accountability, right? Yeah. Brianna, have you seen some differences in the since you've been out of the military?
Yeah. And thank you, Robin, because I really appreciate your take, because it is interesting to like I said, I've been out for a while now, and the transition, I think, is always sort of happening. I had someone ask me once, so what was it like to transition out of the military? And I said, well, not very well, because I work for a veterans organization. So, in the military, I think the level of health, at least, back in my day, health and wellness weren't necessarily measured in the same way it is today, right? They measured health and wellness by body taping and how well you can run a PFT. Which is no stretch of any measure of how healthy or well anybody is. And, in the civilian world, right, our health and mental health and well-being, I think are taken a lot more, I don't want to say taken a lot more care, but it's looked at a little bit differently. And I see the shift happening a little bit, but I think we have a long way to go in understanding what it means to really be healthy, and what it really means to have, mental health and mental well-being, and what it really means to be resilient. And I think that, the more we can come together as a community, and the more we can openly have these conversations, you know what, no, I don't feel right today and I don't feel well today. So, I'm going to do this. And, this is where we need to go. I think the more we can have these open conversations, the more measured and intentional we can be with our practices and our processes. So, I think that, I think the shift is happening. It's just taking a while.
Well, admitting that there is a moment that you might need to work on your mental health, right? I mean, that's very difficult for the military community in general, right? We don't want to ever admit weakness, especially non-physical, right? I imagine is harder than physical weakness. So yeah, amazing. Jessica, how do you see these two military and civilian differences in health and resilience?
I love what Robin and Brianna have said, and I'm thinking, thinking back, way back, it seems forever ago, that the definition of health and wellness was very black and white from the military perspective, in my experience, that it was the running, sit-ups, push-ups. If you max out that, man, top of the list, you got it going on. It kind of just would reverberate into different areas of the outward view of me. I could feel it. If I maxed out or got above 300, then there were a lot of benefits to that outwardly. Inwardly, my sense of worth was being tied to a PFT score. And when I was struggling with my mental health, didn't feel like there was an equal kind of top of the list to go. Here's how you get to your tip top mental health. Here's how you get to your tip top physical health in one way, but where's the mental health? So just feeling that that definitely stark contrast there in the military. Out of the military, for better, for worse, there's a lot of gray area. So for better, that wellness is, sure, it is running, push-ups, sit-ups. That's health and wellness too, but so is walking meditation in the forest, or a rest day, or 3 rest days in a row, or just that there's a gray area and there's a whole health aspect, and just mental health. There's so much gray area there that it's not necessarily tons of medication, and that there's lots of different types of therapies out there, and there's just a lot. There's so many tools for health and wellness, and I think I've been so excited, and I just love exploring. I'm still learning new tools all the time. And I think that that's a really positive part of that gray area that can be a little intimidating, but even just these organizations here that are represented here, like we're all tools for veterans, and that's just amazing.
It's important to know that it's not a one size fit all kind of deal, right? And it's not, as you said, just outward, health and resilience. It's the inward too is a big piece of it. So thank you for sharing that. Kasie, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, everyone brings up really good points. And Robin, you shared a perspective that I didn't really have, like a positive to the military telling you how to work out, that you have to take this class, and seeing it as a benefit. So that was interesting hearing you talk about that, because before, when I was thinking it through, I just saw it like this. The military tells you how to work out, when to work out. They put you in your duty assignment with the people you're going to work out with. They tell you when you're going to visit your family. I viewed that maybe in not the best light, but in a way, if you need someone to hold you accountable, especially on days where you don't feel like doing those things, or you haven't thought about it. I know for me, I really appreciated when the military would tell me, you need to go do this type of medical appointment, this type of medical appointment. You're going to go, if you don't go to the dentist, you are red all over this tracker. So in some ways I liked being held accountable for my health and overall wellness. But in other ways, I felt like it put me in this box, like, this is how you are going to be healthy and resilient. Fit in here. And what I like as a veteran and how it's different as a veteran is that you have the flexibility to kind of tailor your life. Do you want to work out in the morning? Do you prefer working out in the evening? I just so happen to like to work out in the morning, so it worked out. But some days I do want to rest. Some days I need to rest. Some days I need to be in solitude and just work alone. And so being a veteran, it's allowed me to just shape shift. And I'm constantly reflecting on how I feel in certain situations or certain exercises around certain family members, different working environments. I'm constantly reflecting, how do I feel? Is this exhausting me? Do I feel okay? Today, am I too sore to go do weightlifting? Should maybe I do yoga? I'm constantly reflecting and I'm able to change it quickly. I don't have to stick to a very regimented routine. And so I really appreciate that flexibility outside as a veteran to be able to just live in the best possible way for myself and my own personal needs, because my needs change. You know, I've gone from a mother of one, a mother of two, a mother of three, living internationally. My life is constantly changing. And so my needs to be healthy and resilient, those tools look different every day, honestly. So I appreciate having the flexibility, but I will be honest, I've gotten behind on some doctor's appointments and I miss that part about the military.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you need an accountability group to
Yes.
make sure you're
Yes.
staying on your goals. But otherwise, it seems like the freedom and flexibility is working out well for you. I mean,
yeah, it has. And I think it takes a long time. Just like I'm still exhaling, I'm still processing things, different things come up, things change. Like I'm still exhaling and I'm still adjusting to whatever's coming up.
yes, definitely. So I'm gonna take a question from the audience right now, so we can make sure all of you have a chance to weigh in on it before we wrap up with the rest of our questions. But Megan has asked, do any of your organizations have female-only groups or events or chapters or any special groups for MST survivors who might want to not engage with the entire veteran community as a result of their experiences?
Yeah, so we have Veterans Yoga Project has an online studio. We have an app that you can download for iPhone or Google Play or Android. And that app has all of our classes. And we do have a Yoga Basics for Women class every Sunday morning. I don't remember the time off the top of my head. But it's held via Zoom, so it's a virtual class. And all of our classes are free, so you don't have to pay. You can just go to the app and register for the class. And if, I'm happy to ask our team if we have anything, in the country. But yes, so we do have that.
Yeah, I know at WSP, we have all women cohorts for our boot camps. They're not specific to MST survivors, but we have, in response to some feedback from the women who have gone through our programs, we've developed our all women cohorts for a community like that. So it's a safe but inclusive community for women veterans to feel free to speak about any experiences they have had. So we definitely have that. In addition to this community for women veterans. Do any of your organizations have female only, Robin?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So in terms of if any individuals are still struggling kind of with the aftermath of that and kind of still processing and going through that event, we definitely within every state that we're in, we do have clinicians that they specialize in MST along with trauma, providing kind of trauma focused therapy. They do have that specialization where they're able to have experience working with that and have that knowledge.
Awesome. Okay, so our next question for all of you is on the topic of motivation or encouragement. So, how do you start motivating someone who wants to start a health and wellness journey, but they might be struggling? Do you have any tips or encouragement for someone who's looking to get started, for the first time, or maybe for the first time in a while? We can start with you, Robin, if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, sure. I think the key is not necessarily finding the motivation, but just being kind to yourself and like understanding that it's not going to be, if it's something that you used to do and now you're trying to get back into it, it's not going to be like this light switch of a change for you, but and just kind of like being kind and being able to talk to yourself kindly, even if you miss the yoga class, or, you don't meditate that night, or whatever it is that you're trying to do and do better at, is just be kind to yourself. I think that's the key when starting.
That sometimes can be the hardest thing to do as well, right? Especially for women. We're not great at that in general, are we? Brianna, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I love that, Robin. Being kind to yourself, I think, is so important. I would say that, everybody's health and wellness journey looks different. So what works for your best friend or your accountability buddy, might not necessarily work for you. So find something that does. And I think Kasie, and I think Jessica, you alluded to this as well, right? Like every day is going to look a little bit different. So, recognize and honor that your body's pretty smart, and you just have to know to listen and to honor and respect yourself enough where, one day it might be running 10 miles and one day it might just be doing, 10 deadlifts, right? And that might be your practice, and that's okay. And that ties into the being patient with yourself and being patient with the process. This is all a journey. So, recognize that unlike in the military, right, where you have a very regimented goal and you have to have your 300 PFT in order to be healthy, right, that you have permission to set that aside now. And there doesn't have to be like this finish line. Just find something that you enjoy and find something that makes you happy.
Yes, focus on how you feel is what I hear you saying there. So that's a great, tip to get started. Jessica, do you have any tips for those who might be struggling to get started?
I would just double down on the focus on how you feel. And I guess specifically have fun, like focus on having fun. That, I guess it doesn't have to be black and white, doesn't have to be that PFT movement and feeling. It can be roller skating. I picked up roller skating in the pandemic, and I am like tapping into that 8-year-old Jessica that loved the roller rink, and just, and now I have my own hot pink skates and I roller skate in my basement, and it is so much fun. Just kind of thinking outside of the box about what you like to do and what's possible. Even learning a new sport can just tap into different parts of your brain and keep it interesting. And maybe you'll hate the thing you tried, but it keeps it interesting, and hopefully can, kind of make it fun, because health and wellness, I guess I'm just focusing on that physical aspect for this, but I really believe in that ripple effect of the endorphins and the mental and emotional health as well. But just, it can be fun, and it will look different for everybody.
I love that, tapping into your inner child. Like, what would you do at 10 years old? That sounds like a fun adventure, right? To start this journey. Like, let's go roller skating, let's play basketball, whatever you wanted to do when you were younger. I love it. Kasie, do you have some tips?
Yeah, they hit really good ones. I'm trying to think of what to add. I think not only not comparing yourself to others, but not comparing yourself to yourself. What I can do now looks a lot different than what I could do 10 years ago. And that was a hard lesson to learn. So back on what Robin said, just being kind to yourself and having realistic expectations of where you're at in your life. And honoring your body. And what's motivated me now also looks different than what motivated me 10 years ago. 10 years ago was pretty simple. I want to look good in a bikini. I want to max my APFT. Things have changed now. I have 3 children, and my purpose, this is my advice, I guess, is to figure out what is your purpose. My purpose is I want to be a really good mom, and I want to give my kids a really good childhood with the best version of myself. And so that really motivates me to live healthy and to live a healthy lifestyle, because knowing that if I'm eating more fruit and vegetables versus fried food, or if I'm exercising and lifting weights, that it could reduce aging side effects and help me live longer to be there for my children and have patience for them, be able to be present for them and active and fun and happy, and also maybe live long enough to do that with grandchildren. So for me, just knowing what my purpose is, and that really motivates me now. And I would recommend people to just take a moment and just think about that. What is your purpose? And that really helps me sustain living healthy.
Yeah, what I hear you say there is like, find your why, right? Sometimes when we set our goals, we're told, find your why, because then you'll stick to it, right? You'll stick to it if you know why you're doing it. And if your why is, Kasie now is giving your kids the best childhood, Kasie then, trying to look good in a bikini, you're not going to be as motivated right now. That's not a priority for you anymore. So I think that's an excellent tip to get started, find your why.
But if I do look good in my bikini now, it's a plus.
Great. Just an extra side benefit.
Just a perk.
To close it out, I'm going to ask if you all have any favorite 1-minute wellness hacks, favorite workouts, or, advice, tips, or resources for investing in our health and wellness. So, Kasie, I'll start with you. Do you have any favorite tips you like to share, or favorite workouts?
Well, for 1 minute, I would suggest doing a quick mind body scan. So sometimes I just have to take a break from working or entertaining my kids and just evaluate myself. Hey, have I drank water in the last hour? Have I gone to the bathroom? Am I feeling stress in my shoulders? Just paying attention to myself like I do my children, and then acknowledging what is going on or deficiencies I might be having, and then use the rest of the 30 seconds to go get the water, or stand up and stretch my hips, or do some stretches to relieve the pain in my shoulders, or just quick mind body. Just always be in touch with how you're feeling, and adjust your day to support yourself.
Yeah, I identify with so many of the things that you said, right? Working remotely, you sit a lot, you forget to drink water, take care of yourself. So I'm sure that is going to resonate with a lot of people who are watching this as well.
Do you remember in the military, they'll yell, drink water? They even tell you to drink water. You guys, we don't have someone yelling at us to drink water. So my 1 minute tip is to drink water.
Amazing. I was going to say, well, Jessica is listening to you. She's like, hang on.
Okay.
I have to drink the water right now.
Okay.
So,
cheers.
Cheers with our water. Jessica, do you have any 1 minute tips? Do you have any favorite workouts? Do you have any advice or, resources that you found helpful?
Totally. I'm going to touch on something I haven't said yet. I think that spending just a little bit of time outside your comfort zone is a really good thing, and doesn't have to be, we don't want to live out there, but visiting there every now and then is a good thing. So something that I have discovered that helps me in a lot of aspects of life, but that mental challenge of overcoming something just at the beginning of my day, I started doing cold water therapy. And I live right by the ocean, so sometimes I'm able to get in the ocean and have it be this really awesome, experience with nature. But more practically, my morning shower, whether it's 1 minute, whether it's 15 seconds, but ending a shower on cold. And maybe it's not all the way to cold. Maybe it's just, you kind of work your way to beyond your comfortability. But man, that the physical, mental, emotional effects of cold water therapy has been a new discovery for me in the pandemic. And 1 minute in and out, good to go for the day.
That's an awesome tip. Writing that down as we speak. So Brianna, what is your tip, 1 minute hack, favorite workout advice?
So I've been looking forward to this. So is it okay if we do just a 1 minute practice?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So everybody take a moment and just roll your shoulders forward. And then roll your shoulders back. So I always finish with rolling my shoulders back because I do work virtually and I spend all day leaning over. And then the next time you let your shoulders roll back, just let your shoulder blades hug the back side of your body and bring one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. So I notice that I don't breathe all the time. So just take a minute and just notice your breath. And not a minute, we'll just do a second or two. And then draw in a nice big full inhale. And then a slow exhale. And we'll do that twice more. Big full breath in. And then a slow exhale. And one more time, big full breath in. And then see how long you can make your exhale. And then release your hands. That's my 1 minute hack.
Wow, that was fantastic. We had a demonstration. Thank you so much for guiding us. Also, we can see why you have been at Veterans Yoga Project so long. That was amazing little teaching. Okay, Robin, I know that this is hard to follow, right? Because
yeah, that was rough. This is going to be rough. I will end on something that I try to do every night because I think it's just a nice way to end your day. I use an app that reminds me to be grateful because it asks me every day, what were you grateful for? And I'll put it in the chat. It's called Presently. It's a free app. And it just, you get a notification that at some point during the day, and it literally just asks you, what are you grateful for today? And you can just type whatever you want. I was kind of looking through my past week, and a lot of that was just my dog. Bless her, because I don't know what I would do without her, but it's just a nice reminder. And when you hit certain milestones, even if you skip a couple of days, it will tell you you've hit 100 days of being grateful. And I think that's just a really nice way a nice reminder, and another accountability for lack of that we can have in our lives just to reflect.
Yes. Also, don't feel bad for feeling grateful for your dog, because that's usually what I write. If I have to write what I'm grateful for, my dog is always on the list. Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great resource. Please share the link for that in the chat, and we can all do that. So as we close out, I just want to thank our amazing panelists, Robin, Brianna, Jessica, and Kasie, for being with us today and for helping us to learn some new tips about being healthy and being more resilient in the face of a lot of challenges and a lot of the intersectionality of our identities, whether we are military affiliated or civilians with an interest in that. And it's been great. So do we have, would you all like to share your contact info, or we can find you on LinkedIn in the chat, and that way if anybody wants to follow up with any one of you about anything you said, or find more about your organizations and how they can make use of the resources you offer, that would be great. And we thank everybody who has come tonight to listen to what they've shared. And this will be our last Women Veterans Empowerment Dialogues of the spring. We will be having hopefully one at our all women's cohort this summer, but we don't know if at this point if we're going to be able to live stream it. If we can, we'll bring it to this community again. And then we'll start back up in September. So watch for some information on our next WVED in September. So we'll start the series up again in the fall. So thank you to everyone who came tonight, and we're gonna say goodnight and thanks for joining us. So
Thank you.
bye everyone.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.